What's up, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to Between the Lines Podcast. It's your host, Doug Q, the host with the most. Welcome on in, man. If you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, show that love, as well as you see it scrolling around the bottom. If you would like to contribute, hit that Cash App, man. Without further ado, let's get on into it. You see it. Should the Panthers consider drafting Hendon Hooker? Look, man, I know y'all see the Kool-Aid smile on my face because this is one of my favorite quarterbacks entirely when it comes to this draft. This was my number one guy I thought that the Panthers should have took before the injury. And barring injury, this guy was a Heisman guy. He was very, very, very accurate. The 6'4" senior, 218 pounds. Guess where from, Carolina Panther fans? Greensboro, North Carolina. Should I continue? Yeah, let's get on into it, man. Look, before this guy, when he got hurt, he was leading the entire college football rankings at the quarterback position. He was, like I said, slated to be the number one guy. 3,135 yards, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and an 89.5 overall quarterback rating. Man, can you say elite? He is the number one reason why the Tennessee Volunteers had one of the highest campaigns. And look, he also got a couple of receivers that's going to be going pretty high in the first round too. Jalen Hyatt and the crew are no slouches. So with that being said, man, I'm looking at this guy, and I have to say, with his recent games, his last game was against South Carolina. The game basically where he kind of went down. But watching this guy, I'm looking at some games where he was putting up 325, 349, 385. He had a game where he did 385 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, with a 70% completion rate, bro. And against who? Alabama. Need I say more? That was one of his best games where he took it to the Alabama Tide, man. Look, this guy to me is no joke. I think that the accuracy is there for this guy. I mean, granted, a lot of people like to make the case that Jalen Hyatt and the crew helped propel him to where he was. I think it's the other way around. I think he helped elevate those guys to the next level. And you really see an offense in Tennessee that really took off. I mean, this boy was spreading the ball around the entire field. Like I said, you see him going up against Florida. You see him going up against Alabama. Georgia, he didn't do well in the Georgia game, but the entire team ended up falling, and they were inflated. He still had a 69.7 completion percentage, 195 yards, and he threw an interception. Wasn't his best game, possibly his worst game of the season. A lot of people like to say the thing is with him, when Georgia came into town, which everybody know Georgia is like the litmus test for everybody, he did not have his best game. But every other game you look at, whether it's Kentucky against Will Levis, he gave you 245 and 3 tubs, as well as a touchdown on the ground. I mean, you look at the game where he went up against LSU, 239 with 2 touchdowns, as well as he gave you about 56 yards on the ground, just giving them the business. I mean, this guy, like I said, make no mistake about it, he is a baller. Man, Pittsburgh, he went up against Pittsburgh. He gave you 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, and like I said, a very efficient game, even after he was under duress. He was sacked 3 different times. The one thing about Hendon Hooker that a lot of people don't really understand is he was under duress for a majority of the season because that offensive line at Tennessee was not the best. I mean, they had a game, I'm looking at the Mizzou game, where they gave up 4 sacks, and he just got bruised and battered, but he was still able to give you 355 yards with 3 touchdowns. This guy, to me, is special. Mark my words. To me, a lot of people let this guy fly up under the radar. I think he is the biggest steal of the draft, whoever gets him. A lot of people are concerned about when he'll be ready to compete again. I'm under the impression if this guy is ready for training camp, like I said, you take him and you make sure that he's there. A lot of people saying, okay, Q, slow your roll. If he's hurt, what's the difference in having him in a corral already who's already hurt on your roster? I get it. Corral does not have the superstar potential that this guy do, though. If you can get this guy and really, because I mean, let's be real. This is he was one of the top quarterbacks in all of football. Barring this injury, like I said, he would have never been down. But, I mean, you got to understand, had he not went down, I think the talks would have been C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson would have been the top 5 to talk about. So, granted, you can't overlook the production that this guy has done. He has given you nothing but the business every time he step on the field. I like him. He's a superstar waiting to happen, and any team that gets him will get a gem, like I said. A lot of people say, well, Q, he's going to be a watered-down version of Malik Willis. No, I don't see that at all. This guy has superstar written all over him, and in the hands of a capable offensive coordinator, watch out. Frank Wright, if you're watching this video right now, do what you can to bring in Hendon Hooker. Like, if you guys were willing to draft Anthony Richardson and go get a veteran quarterback until he got ready, why wouldn't you do the same for Hendon Hooker? Like I said, he's a guy that can start right now if healthy. But if you guys feel like you want to sit him for a couple of games until he get ready, why not? This will be your guy in the future. He has superstar potential. And like I said, you go out, if you get him, you go out and get his receiver too, Jalen Hyatt. It's so similar to the Joe Burrow story. This guy has the it factor. They went out and they got his receivers from Tennessee and watched them groom together. Not from Tennessee, but his receivers from college and watched them groom together. You best do the same thing if you want to see this guy go up. I'm under the impression this league is driven by star power, and this guy has it. Make sure, if you haven't already, you like, comment, subscribe. I'm telling you guys, this is the guy to take, and I will put everything on it. If we take him, we won't look back, and I doubt we will ever regret it, because this guy is going to be special. Know the name right now. Go watch his highlights. His name is Hendon Hooker. Take a look at him.